Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. This morning we want to continue a conversation about safety. And not just any safety, but water safety in particular. We saw recently where we had a child drowning in a pool at home. We've seen that the rivers are open back up, beaches are open back up in a full way, and we want you to be as safe as possible. This morning I want to welcome from the water safety education part of the Ministry of National Security and the Lifeguard Services, Mr. Allister Livingston. Good morning to you,
Good morning,
sir.
good morning.
Welcome to the Now Morning Show.
It's a pleasure.
Now, you're a lifeguard, I assume?
Yes, I am.
Yes, and you would have seen, I mean, you guys are trained to understand safety and to help us to be able to be safe so that, you know, we give you less work to do generally, right?
Yeah, yes.
But we've seen lots of cases where people now, you know, we have the facility to purchase pools and have them in your yard. So even if you don't have the access to build a pool or whatever, you can buy a small pool and have the children play in it.
Yes.
But are there safety things that we should consider even in those small at-home pools?
Yes, we do have a lot of aspects that we need to look at. First, especially, you know, parents tend to foresee when you have a backyard pool and you have probably 12 inches of water, you know, you could put them inside and leave them to play. But little that they know, it just takes a mouthful for that child to fall over and hit their head, or that gush of water gets into their nostril or into their mouth and gets down into their lungs, and you can have an unconscious child. You can have a drowning or near drowning incident. So it's very, very important that these parents, they pay special attention at looking at these kids, because it just takes approximately 30 seconds for someone to lose their life in water, especially children. So it is very, very important that parents do not leave these kids unsupervised. Then sometimes now we have the bigger pool for the bigger kids, even the adults could indulge in it, which you call the ground pool.
Right.
It's approximately 6 feet. And, you know, we have them in our backyards. And we tend to leave, you know, the ladders that the smaller kids could climb up and jump in. What we advise, you make sure you remove that ladder, or you get a cover for it, because, you know, you can have an incident where a child just sees the ladder, climb up. And another thing we tend to not pay attention to, when we have these pools, we tend to give them toys to play in the pool.
Is that also dangerous?
Very dangerous, because you may have an elder child using the pool with the toys, balls or whatever, and a smaller child sees that toy, the ball, the floaty, whatever, they attracted to it, and they go into the water trying to retrieve it.
Yeah.
And God forbid that depth of water, they fall in and they can drown.
So based on what you say, Mr. Livingston, step one is pay attention.
Yes. You have to
always
be
pay
vigilant.
attention. Yeah.
Never take your eyes off a child. Whenever you have children in water, that distance that a parent or that person supervising that child should be an arm's reach away, no further, be it the pool, be it the river, be it the beach. They should not be further than an arm's reach away from that child.
At what age do you recommend that we send children to start learning to swim?
I would recommend from 3 years old.
Okay.
You get them involved, because swimming is a process where you need to get accustomed, get the feel of the water, and then you need to learn how to breathe. You need to get their faces down into the water and blow bubbles, do the jellyfish float and stuff like that. So the earlier they can be familiarized with the water and get accustomed to that territory, it will be greater for them to accomplish that learning to swim.
Yeah. Now, I know that rivers are now open back up so that we can all go, and we, of course, you mentioned just now, you shouldn't be more than an arm's length away from children, especially when you're in whether the pool, the river, or the beach. But are there any special considerations that we should be aware of when it comes to rivers in particular?
Yes, when we go to rivers, we have to pay special attention to rivers have what you call uneven surface, the depth.
Right.
We have to be very careful. Sometimes if you have gone to rivers, you may step in waist depth, and then
all of a sudden
you go down to a deeper depth. We have to be very mindful of the bottom composition, be it rocks. Be very careful. We have to be careful of also of objects. You know, to have people go to the river and you have objects and they do not look, they dive in. You have a bamboo, you have the rocks. Do not go and jump from the banks into the river. We have to be very, very careful.
It's not recommended at all?
No, it's not recommended. Also, before you dive into the river, you must always observe that water condition. Make sure and look, because today you can go into the river, overnight a branch fall, a bamboo fall, and it is there, that projectile is in the water, and you jump in or you dive in, and you can have an incident.
Yeah, easy like that. How important, I remember some years ago, there was a situation in Argyle where, people were by the waterfall, by a river, and rain was falling somewhere else, and it affected the level of the water.
Flash flooding.
Yeah.
Yes. We have to be very mindful of that, and we have to pay attention to the weather. You may go to the river and you're 3 miles down, 5 miles down, you see the overcast, and you would look at the sky and you will think the rain is not falling where we are bathing or where I'm bathing. But 5 miles up that river, you have that waterfall or that rainfall, and the river will give you signs.
What are the signs?
The signs, you may start to see leaves coming down.
Okay.
A little debris. You'd see the water discoloration. You're going to see that brownish water. The water level may start to rise.
Right.
When you see these signs, you need to get out, because in a couple of minutes, you may have that gush of water coming and it could take you away. So we have to be very mindful and pay attention to that weather. If you see it looks overcast, be very careful.
As a lifeguard, how often have you heard of situations like that, or have you been able to have experience or had to save people from situations like that?
Well, lifeguards do not really cover rivers,
right,
but we have heard quite a few incidents, Tuco area, Sandy Grande, Valencia, where we have the bigger rivers, and we have a lot of people visiting, on the weekends and stuff like that, and in the hype of, having the fun and bathing.
They don't pay attention to the signs.
We do not pay attention to these signs, and we have to be very, very vigilant. And in this time right now that we're experiencing a lot of the weather, it's supposed to be dry season,
right,
and we're having a lot of rain, so we have to be very careful, be very mindful of flooding as well.
Right. Now, we only have a couple of minutes left, but in terms of beaches, what would be the specific advice for beaches? Like we have specific advice for the pool, for the rivers. I mean, there are common threads, of course. Pay attention is a common thread. But what special advice do we need for the beach?
Well, first and foremost, I would advise that we are in the hype of Easter, and a lot of people going to the beaches.
Yep.
My first advice to the public, try to go to the beaches that have lifeguards, right? These lifeguards, the areas like we have Maracas, we have Las Cuevas, we have Tyrico, we have Vesini, Lucero, Quinam, we have Celebia, we have Tuco, we have Manzanilla, which presently is closed, and then we have Mearo. So you visit these beaches, the hours that the lifeguard patrol are 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Feel free, speak to the lifeguards. Stemming from that, some of the safety tips. You're not a very good swimmer. Stay waist depth.
Yeah.
For the kids, knee depth.
Okay.
Okay. Observe
and stoop down to bathe, and you could waddle in the shallow. Okay.
Do not engage in ball games, flotation devices. Okay. Do not use these flotation devices and try to hold on to it and let your friends take you out. These devices are only to be used by very strong swimmers, because you may go out into the water, you slip off, it puncture. You're going to have an incident, okay? Know your swimming ability.
Or the current take you as well.
Or the current, yes. So many areas that, you could be exposed by just using this flotation, all right? When you go to the beach, parents, be very, very mindful, and remember what I said, keep those kids
arm's
length away, that you could get a reach of them. Do not go on the beach and, look the lifeguard there. Go right there and, you rock back, and you're looking at them, or you're engaged in your phone, or you're reading
a book, or whatever the case is. All right, so, safety tips, respect the water. Respect the water, pay attention to everything that you need to pay attention to, especially your children.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Livingston. That's Allister Livingston, water safety educator at the Ministry of National Security under Lifeguard Services. Just reminding us that, you have to be vigilant. Each and every one of us have a responsibility, especially when you're around water, to make sure that you are safe, your children are safe, your family is safe. We take a quick break, and we come back with more inside in our morning show. Stay tuned.